curious, engaging. Every second of your life, you are under attack. Billions of bacteria, viruses, and fungi are actively trying to breach your outer defenses and use your body as a host environment. Usually, your primary barrier keeps them out, but on a beautiful day, a wild, rusty nail appears. You cut your skin, and that barrier is broken. Nearby bacteria immediately seize the opportunity. They flood into the sterile environment of your wound and begin consuming your body's resources. This chart plots the exponential population growth of bacteria over time. At first, the invaders fly completely under the radar, but because they can double their numbers every 20 minutes, that trend line quickly crosses a critical threshold into a damage phase. Once they reach this specific population density, they change their behavior and begin actively destroying the environment around them. This exponential multiplication creates a strict biological ticking clock. The immune system has to detect the breach and halt the invasion before the bacteria reach that critical mass. The body's massive first responders arrive at the wound immediately. These are your guard cells, known as macrophages. A single macrophage can swallow and digest up to 100 intruders whole. To make fighting easier, they trigger local inflammation, ordering blood vessels to release water and flood the battlefield, a process you feel as mild swelling. But macrophages rely on brute force, and if they fight for too long, the exponential multiplication of the bacteria outpaces them. Overwhelmed, they release messenger proteins to communicate their location and call in heavy backup. That backup arrives in the form of neutrophils. Receiving the chemical signal, they leave their regular patrol routes in the bloodstream and migrate directly to the front lines. Neutrophils fight with total chaos. They generate physical barriers to trap the bacteria, and their attacks are so furious that they destroy healthy host cells in the crossfire. Because their high-damage tactics are so lethal to the host body itself, neutrophils are genetically programmed to commit suicide after 5 days. This strict biological limit prevents them from causing catastrophic internal damage. When local brute force cannot stop the invasion, the intelligence gatherer of the immune system steps in. The dendritic cell gets active. Instead of fighting, it rips the dead enemies into pieces. The dendritic cell collects physical samples of the bacteria and presents these parts on its own outer layer. This simplified schematic shows how the dendritic cell transports its newly acquired intelligence. It leaves the battlefield and travels through the body's vessels for about a day until it reaches the closest central hub, a lymph node. Inside that node, billions of helper T cells are waiting. Each one is born with a unique setup. The dendritic cell moves through the crowd, physically testing its sample against these different T cells, searching for the single receptor that perfectly locks into the geometric shape of the intruder. When it finally finds a perfect match, a chain reaction triggers. That specific helper T cell activates and rapidly duplicates itself thousands of times. A group of these activated T cells then travels deeper into the center of the lymph node to find a corresponding B cell. When the T cell activates the B cell, it transforms into a hyper-stimulated weapons factory. It works to the absolute point of exhaustion, while the helper T cells chemically stimulate it to keep producing and stay alive. The body has taken physical evidence from a distant chaotic wound, transported it to a central hub, and initiated custom mass production of biological weapons. These B cell factories pump out exactly one thing: specialized proteins engineered to bind to the specific intruder, known as antibodies. Millions of these tiny Y-shaped proteins flood the bloodstream, traveling rapidly from the lymph nodes all the way back to the original wound site. Upon arrival, they physically connect to the outer layer of the bacteria. This action completely stuns the intruders, crippling their movements and rendering them helpless. This targeted stunning action definitively shifts the balance of the battle. The fast-multiplying bacteria are now totally defenseless, making it incredibly easy for the surviving macrophages to consume them and turn the tide. In a coordinated team effort, the bacterial infection is completely wiped out. Millions of host body cells have died in the crossfire, but these losses are acceptable collateral damage that the body quickly replenishes. With the enemy defeated, the body asserts strict resource management. The remaining mobilized immune cells stop receiving active distress signals, and without those signals, they initiate programmed suicide to conserve your energy. But there is a critical exception to this mass die-off. A small number of the activated T cells stay behind in the lymph nodes as memory cells. The ultimate victory of the immune system is permanent storage. It has archived the exact biological blueprint of the invader, ensuring if this specific enemy ever returns, the body will eradicate it before you even notice.